Okay, so now let's talk about the acquired immune system. So, sort of an overview of it. So, remember, the acquired immune system is we don't have it when we're born, it's learned, it's slow, and it's really specific, and it's systemic. Okay? All right, so the acquired immune system is mediated by lymphocytes. And basically, a lymphocyte this is your lymphocyte is going to have some kind of receptor on it with a specific sort of thing there, and it will bind to a specific antigen. So the lymphocyte will bind to a specific antigen. Once it binds there, unfortunately, that is not enough, okay? So it has to go through activation. Something's got to activate it in order for it to work. Okay, so once it's activated, then we get a response. Okay, so there are two types of lymphocytes. Two types of lymphocytes. So there are B lymphocytes and there are T lymphocytes. They both kind of look alike in the sense that, they both kind of look like this. Remember, they're lymphocytes, so they're just like, a cell with a little bit of cytoplasm and a big old crazy nucleus in it like that. Okay? So they both pretty much look like that. All right? B lymphocytes. B lymphocytes mature in the bone marrow. And that's pretty easy to remember. B lymphocytes in the bone marrow. Okay? So they mature in the bone marrow, and they the T lymphocytes, so do this first. T lymphocytes mature in the thymus gland. Okay, so T lymphocytes, T thymus. Okay, so I should be able to remember that. Now they are both born in the bone marrow. So both made in bone marrow. But the B lymphocytes stay there to mature, and the T lymphocytes go out to the thymus to do their maturing. In the bone marrow, when they're born, they get to pick their receptor. So the picking of the receptor, of course, has to do with, genetics, gene shuffling through the DNA and that kind of thing. But essentially, they get to pick their receptor. All right, so if we look at B cells, so B lymphocytes, the B lymphocyte's going to look kind of like that. It's going to have its big old thing there. B. Okay. So the receptors on B lymphocytes are actually antibodies. And these antibodies, we know, have a sort of receptor site on the ends that are very specific. So yes, there'll be antibodies all over this B cell, but they all have that same receptor site. Okay. B cell immunity is called humoral immunity. This is antibody immunity. And this happens in the blood, in the fluids. Okay, humors is the same word, the old-timey word for fluids. The target for B cells are extracellular pathogens. So these are pathogens that are floating around in the fluids, in the blood and fluid, other, whatever. Okay? Floating around, extracellular. Okay? T lymphocytes, they also look like this, right? But their receptor looks more like this. And it's called the T cell receptor. Or this one is an antibody. Okay. And this little area right here is specific to one thing. It's only gonna bind to one thing that looks just like that. Same with this antibody here, is only gonna bind to the one thing that'll fit in there. T lymphocytes are part of cell-mediated immunity. And their target, you should be able to guess, is intracellular pathogens. So humoral immunity, which is antibody immunity, uses B cells looking for extracellular pathogens. T cells, cell-mediated, deal with intracellular pathogens. Okay, so next we'll look at how these cells become mature and how they figure out what they're going to be looking for.